Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. I just have to sigh as I watch what's happening and has been happening at the NRA, the debacle, the downward spiral, the death spiral, headed up by Wayne LaPierre. I call for his resignation and then his removal for years now. Making me persona non grata there, but I've been that for 20 years, ever since Marion Hammer called me and said, just want to let you know you're on the official NRA S list. That's not what she said, but it's close. Because I had the temerity to actually have Neil Knox, gun rights activist, on my show. But he was also P&G over at NRA, and I'm not allowed to talk to somebody who they don't like, evidently according to them. Anyway, but it's a mess what's going on over there. I've talked about it a good bit. But somebody who's very much in the middle of that, former NRA director and working right now on a lot of different things. We'll ask him the details. Rocky Marshall joins us. Rocky, welcome. And what's going on, and what are you doing to try to get Wayne LaPierre out of there?
Well, Tom, thanks for having me on the show. You have a great show, by the way. And, you summed it up pretty well in the intro. It is a mess. It is a complete mess and a misuse of the NRA members' monies. And for those people listening, if you followed some of the things that have gone on, I intervened in the bankruptcy filing as a director to try to help direct that effort away from where they were headed with the bankruptcy. And then most recently, I intervened in the New York case as a director as well to try to bring, the members' viewpoint to the court. And because the New York AG obviously does not have the NRA members' interest at heart, and neither does the NRA. The NRA is really working on behalf of Wayne LaPierre and the management team. But the members are really left out of this process. And so that was the reason I intervened in that trial, to try to have the members' voice heard at the New York court level. So that's some of the things I've been working on.
So where does all that stand right now? When your attempts to be an intervener in these cases, were you successful at that?
No, I was not. So the New York court rejected my motion to intervene, and so the trial is moving forward. And I suspect the actual trial will happen before year end, because they're wrapping up, I think, depositions, I think at the end of July. So that's ongoing. I have been requested to testify in that trial. The New York AG subpoenaed me to testify, so I will. And so that's where that stands. But my intervention motion did not pass.
For those who may not have been paying attention, especially if they're getting all their information directly from the NRA keeps saying the New York Attorney General's office is just out to destroy the NRA. Well, you know what? That part is true. But it's also true that they have probably more than 1 million pages of documents, and the things that they are accusing the NRA of, and Wayne LaPierre and his cohorts of, probably are all pretty close to being accurate. And to put a finer point on it, the NRA is currently spending somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 to $5 million a month on legal fees, and it's not really aimed at trying to save the NRA. It's trying to save the asses of Wayne LaPierre and his cohorts.
Yeah, that's correct, Tom. That's exactly right. When I first got on the board, which was in January of 2021, I believed what the NRA was saying was true.
Really?
And if you remember, at that point in time, the New York AG had filed its case, and I hadn't really dug into the details to find out exactly what the accusations were about. But when I became a director, I spent months going through all of the minutes of the board meetings, plus all the financial records, the tax statements. And what I thought I would find, because the board members told me that I met at that point in time, that all of those things were untrue. Well, the reality is, as near as I can tell, they're all true. I couldn't find a single accusation that wasn't true. I thought I would. I would thought, well, if they're telling me the truth, this should be pretty easy to prove. Unfortunately, everything that has come out now in the news, but also has come out at the bankruptcy trial in Dallas, is all true, as near as I can tell. So the NRA continues to lie about it, and they just say, no, there's nothing to see here. The New York AG is just going after them and trying to attack them, which I think you're right is true, but also the accusations are true. So there's a lot of wrongdoing here, and that will come out in this trial, which should happen, before the end of the year.
How can it be, you've been on the board, how can it be that the board of directors continues to say, oh no, this is just a witch hunt and none of this is true, and Wayne is a principled leader, when it's like anybody can look at it and say, no, the emperor has no clothes here? How could the directors keep doing this and keep supporting him?
Okay, that's a great question. I get that question all the time from people that are not close to this issue, and there's several reasons. The first reason, a lot of board members get paid by the NRA, and I think you've talked about that in the past. But people like Marion Hammer and Dave Butts, and Lance Olson, Sandra Froman, David King, Tom Ting. I mean, there's at least 6 to 8 board members that have been paid a lot of money. We're not talking, paying your expense bills. We're talking about millions of dollars. And so those people are bought and paid for, and for them, this is just a job. I mean, it's money coming in. So that's one of the things that I found when I first got on the board. This is clearly a conflict of interest. You cannot have board of directors being paid by the organization that you're supposed to oversee. That's clearly a conflict of interest. Yet the NRA, does that. So that's one of the reasons, is that board members are being paid. The other reason is there's a group of board members that have been recruited by the NRA, and we call them Friends of Wayne, because they just go along. They like the status of being on the board of directors, and whatever the issue is, they just go along with the other members that really control the board.
That's how they maintain their position on the board, because if they didn't go along as a friend of Wayne, they wouldn't be on the board. And for many of them, frankly, this is the highest achievement of their life. They get to strut around at the NRA annual meetings. They get to go to the special meetings, the special auctions, the special this and that. And also, there are some meetings that are held in exotic places that you get to go to if you're one of the good directors, and you don't get invited to if you're not.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. And if the members knew all the things that really happened with the NRA, they would be shocked and appalled. I mean, I know you've talked about it, and it's in the print. Unfortunately, a lot of members don't pay attention to some of the details of what's going on. But the board very much is a captive board. They are not providing any oversight at all. If you speak out, and a lot of the board members that have spoken out, you're immediately removed from any committee assignment, and they make sure that they get you off the board as quickly as possible. So you cannot dissent in any form. If you do, you become an outcast.
How, when you're trying to explain to somebody, not using a whole lot of words, how do you characterize Wayne and his core group of cronies?
Okay, so we call them the Cabal, and so there were board members that understood what the problem was, and they saw the illegal activities, but they were silent, even though they recognized it. And so I got to know a lot of them, and they would call me. And so as we'd have board meetings, and I would send out many emails to the board, and you may have seen some of those correspondence. But
I have.
But they would call me and say, I agree with everything you're writing about, but they wouldn't speak out. And so we would talk about the Cabal, and the Cabal is that core group of board members. And it's about 20. I think I actually categorized them. There's about 25 board members that are 100% sold out for whatever the NRA says or does. And that Cabal controls the rest of the board. So it controls the agenda, it controls the committees, they control the actions during the meetings of the board. There is no way to deviate from the scripted agenda that they set out, and the Cabal ensures that you don't deviate. If you do deviate, if you try to go ahead.
I was just going to say, let me make sure people understand. like at a board meeting, if you want to raise a point that is contrary, you simply don't get the floor, or you're shouted down, or they say that it's point of order, or in some cases, you're actually called names from the podium by the people running the meeting.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. I mean, I've been on boards, and I know you have too, but I've been chairman of boards and I've run boards. I've never seen anything like this. I've been in industry for 40 years, and this is beyond anything that you can imagine. It's almost like a kind of a mafia controlled situation. It's a family, and you do not go against the family. And if you do, you're out. And I've seen them call it.
Yeah, I've used that exact phrase to describe the folks at the top there. And where we are is, and I'm about out of time here, is that this thing is going to trial. It's going to, at the end of the year. I personally think probably Wayne and several of his people end up getting removed, and there may be other legal actions taken against them at that point. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. So, I mean, there's just so much evidence here. The New York AG is going to have no problem proving up their case. And so, one of the things they've added recently is that they're requesting that Wayne be removed as part of this legal proceeding, and he will be. I mean, he will be removed by the court. The New York AG is asking for an independent, observer to be installed to oversee the NRA when that happens, and I think that will happen this year. I mean, when they wrap up the trial, and the New York AG prevails, which I'm sure they will, we may see Wayne finally be removed from the NRA management team.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Keep us posted if you would, Rocky. Okay.
Tom, I surely will.
All right, appreciate it. Rocky Marshall, former NRA board member, ran headlong into the wall that so many have, going in thinking we're going to be able to fix this, and then finding out, no, actually the fix is in.